What's up, guys? This is Lemon Sweet Tea, and welcome back to the house where we are on part 4 and hopefully the last part, barring any random encounters that might set us a little bit behind. We're going to be finishing up the deck in this video. We're going to be doing the railing, the stairs, and any finishing touches that'll really set this thing apart. So if you'll stick around, we're going to get to work. So as part of the finishing touches on this deck, I'm going to be installing an outdoor water spigot. Had one at one point underneath the deck here that came through the wall. I'm going to show you that now as we make our way around. And basically, while I was tearing the deck off, I had to turn it on for something. I probably helped put out some fire as I've been burning off some of this lumber. I turned it on and it wouldn't close back up, and it ended up, pouring water out all the time. So I had to cut it off. You can see this little hole that goes through the cinder block here. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I want this spigot to be up on the deck where it's far easier to access. So we're going to go on into the crawl space. And I do apologize, the lighting is terrible under here. And I have to close the door behind me, and the dogs will get in here. Last time we brought the dog under here, she got really sick, and I don't want that. So first things first, this is the original pipe. I doubt you can really see it very well, but I've already put a ball valve here on the pipe so that I can shut the water off during the winter time and hopefully not have this new spigot freeze and bust. It's the last thing that I want. So we've got to go through the wall right here. I could angle it down and come all the way back up, but that's a lot more pipe than I need to use. So we're going to go ahead and drill our hole. Alright, and with the hole finished drilled, you can see it goes all the way through. Now I drilled the hole 3/4 of an inch, while the pipe that I'm using is only 1/2 inch. Basically to give myself just enough room for the pipe to glide in nice and easy. So once we put the pipes through and we get them connected, we put an elbow on and go up through the deck. Alright, and the last step of this whole thing is to attach our spigot. I really like this about Shark Bite. They've got their little shark on the shutoff valve. I really like that. That's kind of neat. One thing I like about these PEX lines, they're very flexible, they're very forgiving, they're not going to break as easily. They're actually meant to withstand some freezing temperatures and be able to expand a certain amount. But I still wanted to put that shutoff in there for the winter time. I can just turn that off and be done with it. So I want this, the pipe couldn't have been the perfect length because I really want this spigot to be sitting right about here. So we just take it, shove it on nice and tight, take ourselves a couple of screws, and attach our spigot to the wall. And with that, the job is done, and all that's left to do is to test it and make sure that there's not any leaks. The easiest way to do that is just go downstairs and turn the water on. Okay, so because no one ever makes one trip to the hardware store, I had to go back. Basically, when I turned the water on to test it, the stress on these old copper lines right here put a big crack right there at that T-joint. So I'm going to have to remove this joint here where I've already put in some new pipe. And I'm going to have to remove all this and probably cut somewhere back here and replace all this copper line with some new blue PEX lines. So I'm going to go ahead, see what I mean? I'm going to go ahead and get it cut out and get started. With all that replaced, moment of truth. We're going to go over here to the valve, turn the water back on. And now the final test. It works, and that is fantastic. So, as a finishing touch for our brand new water hose attachment here, water spigot, got us a good old-fashioned hose hanger and a water hose. So it's pretty easy to install these. They come with some screws in the package. And the type of screws they give you are the type that they screw into these little mounts in case you don't exactly hit a solid spot. I know about where the stud is on this wall. There's a line of nails that runs right along here. So I know where one of them is going to go, but the others are going to go in a little bit different locations. So it's pretty easy. Go ahead and set it, and we'll make a mark on the wood to show us where we need to drill. Set our little plugs. And with that, we've got the last of our little plugs set. So then we take our screws. Basically, these plugs are meant to go in the hollow of a wall. I knew the stud was right here, so I didn't really need this one in the middle, but I did it anyway. We just take our little screw. And you don't want to bury it completely, because it's going to hang right on that screw head. There we go. And it just sinks right down onto there. Now we can take our hose, attach it to the water spigot, go ahead and start wrapping it around. Now it's the little touches like this that's going to really set the whole thing apart from, you know, any other deck in the neighborhood. This is going to be serving me a lot of practical uses, such as, you know, watering the dog outside and not having to lug the bowl back and forth to the kitchen sink, as well as being able to just have a water hose out here and spray the deck off anytime it gets dirty or anything like that. So if you followed my design on the framing, doing the rails is super, super easy. It's really nothing but 36-inch 2x6 here, and then 2x4s which span the distance between the two. And then I've got a rail top here. I do that last, and I'll show you why in just a second. But first things first, we're going to go ahead and secure this rail to the deck post. Alright, you'll notice down on the bottom here, I've used two 2x materials just stacked up as to give me that even height all the way across. If you look over here at these rails that I've already done, they've got that even height all the way around. Basically, so if I decide to blow the deck off with a leaf blower or sweep it off or something like that, I've got a way of sweeping everything underneath the rails. And then the last thing we got to do is attach the top rail to the rail frame. And the reason that I do that last, make sure I get the right one. Because number one, I want to make sure that it fits right. I need my sledgehammer again. There you are. Wanted to make sure I had a nice snug fit, but I also need to come along on this 2x4 here because I'm going to screw it to the top of the rail here. About 6 screws. Perfect. I want to make sure that if there's any warping in this 2x4 here, right along in here, I want to make sure that I get that pulled out if I can. Now, based on what I'm feeling, it's about where it needs to be. So I'm just going to put the screws to it. And with that, that rail is attached. It's rock solid. It can take all the pressure I can push at it, and it doesn't budge a bit, which I think is fantastic. And we are well on our way to being done with this gigantic project that I took on. Now, with all the rails in place, it's really starting to look like a usable deck again. I went ahead and I replaced this older section that was a little bit shorter, and it had a step down in it. So I brought it all up to the same level, no step down, which is nice. And I've already added the rails. So this whole deck now is floor level with the inside of the house. This original post that was here was a 4x4 post. I went ahead and knocked it out and put in a 6x6 post so it would match with the rest of the posts. I've also cut all the posts off at one level so that they actually match. I don't have one that's standing 3 feet taller than the rest. Now, on to the next and probably one of the more nicer portions of this. I have added a nice set of stairs. This is the only place that I haven't added railing to yet, and the dogs are following me. But this is pretty simple construction style. You set the board at a 35-degree angle. You cut 10 inches across, 7 inches down, 10 inches across, 7 inches down, 10 inches across, and so on. Then you attach 2x12s to it, and that's pretty much it. You can actually buy these step stringers pre-cut up to 5 steps. Bella, there's a step there. If you're within a 5-step range, you can just buy the stringers pre-cut. If you've got to go all the way down like I did, and you've got to have 10 steps, it was far easier for me, rather than trying to deal with the angle, the 35-degree angle that you have to go down. I just went ahead and bought I think it was a 3-step stringer, so that I could use that 3-step stringer and just use it as a template and mark everything out and cut it out that way, to where I got the 3 stringers here for this nice new set of stairs. So we are at last at the final portion of rebuilding this deck. At this point, I'm ready to start putting on balusters. Now, I am using 2x2 36-inch balusters. You can buy them at Home Depot for about 87 cents a piece. They're relatively cheap. You can go up to whatever you want to. You can use metal, whatever. This is what I chose to use because it's cheaper and it's a whole lot easier to do. I'll be showing you how to put these on with a gate that I've built. I built this to keep the dogs off the deck whenever I have company over. I will be building another one of these gates on the other set of stairs so that I can keep the dogs off the deck. Now, to do this, I'll be showing you on this will be the new gate. I'll be showing this to you on the new gate for the other set of stairs. And I've already got the balusters ready. I have 6 of them that are going on this, and you'll notice that I've already pre-drilled these. The reason that I do that is these being as small as they are, 2x2, they're very prone to splitting, and if you split one, it's just going to, that split's just going to continue to spread as moisture gets in there, and during the winter time it'll freeze, it'll crack, and it'll make it worse, and these things will fall off within, you know, a couple of years. And I want to prevent that, so I went ahead and pre-drilled where these holes are going to go. So to show you how far apart I'm putting these, I'm doing these on a 6-inch center from the edge, just like I did with the actual floor joists. Bella, come on. Scat. You're in the way. Just like I did with the floor joists, I did a 16-inch center on those. You go 16 inches and you come back 3/4 of an inch to account for the halfway point in these balusters. We line them up on the X. I've got the X. We get the line lined up and we'll put a screw through the hole. I'll do that with all 6 of them. So now that they're on up top, it's pretty clear down at the bottom they don't line up. I didn't measure the bottom. So the easiest way to move forward at this point is to take my broken tape measure and measure the distance between the baluster and the edge, and we're looking at, that's 3 7/8. So we're going to come down here to the bottom and we're going to measure out 3 7/8, and that's where we're going to attach the bottom of the baluster once I find my screws. Now between each one should come out to right around 4.5 inches. So we're going to come down here to the bottom and we're going to measure 4.5 inches. And we're going to put in our second screw. Between each one should be about 4.5 inches. We'll go all the way across the same way, and that's how we'll install our balusters. Here's the before. And the after. And the after. Well guys, this long and arduous process is finally over. Kind of one of those things, crap happens, and what was supposed to take you about 2 months takes you close to 7. So we finally got the deck built, and I'm happy to have it done. Now one thing you'll see, or one thing you would have seen in the before and after video, you notice that somehow this deck lit up. Well, I had no exterior lights on this deck, and so to remedy that, I decided to come up underneath the rails here and run rope light. Just LED rope light all the way around. I wired up a plug, and I wanted to do something a little bit different that really set this thing apart, and I think I've accomplished that. You know, that's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing. I'm glad to have it done. Glad I don't have to work on it anymore. I don't have to pour any more money into it, but having it done is a great thing, and I wanted to do a few things that set it aside. That's the reason I put in the water hose. That's the reason I put in the rope lights, because anybody can put together a deck. Anybody can go out and buy lumber and slap it together. I wanted to do something different. You know, I didn't, in this particular circumstance, life had kind of given me lemons with an old wore out deck that needed to be replaced. I didn't want to do what everybody else would do and make lemonade. I decided to step it up just a notch and make me some lemon sweet tea, and that's what I would remind each one to do every day. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next video.